Hello and welcome to Griffin Park for Terrace Talk Extra. Here we are just a few days away from what will be another hotly contested West London derby. 12,000 people are going to be filling this place on Friday night. There's going to be people here directing the proceedings on the pitch as Brentford take on Fulham in front of the TV cameras. The second derby in 2 weeks. Now, not only are we going to do the regular Terrace Talk, but we're also going to do something a little bit different. We have a Fulham fan invited into enemy territory to talk with a Brentford fan about what will happen and what they think is coming up on Friday.
Okay, we'll start with number 1 point. David Button, what exactly did you sell us?
We sold you exactly what you got.
Which was a half bad, half decent keeper who's somehow keeping Marcus Bettinelli out the side.
I just think he was a keeper who probably seen some of his best years at Brentford, and it was about the right time to get rid of him. I, at the time, didn't see why to let him go. I thought he was still quite a good keeper, but I think he might have proved otherwise.
Because you did this to us before, because we got, I forget his name, I think it may have been just something generic like Ted Smith. A couple of years ago, he was going to retire at the end of the season, yet we somehow bought him in January. Does this ring any bells? Elderly keeper?
Ooh, possibly. Well, you can have all our elderly players then, can't you? We'll sell them on and make a profit. We don't mind.
I don't want the elderly. I want Josh McEachran. He's one of the few Brentford players I actually have some time for, even though he's ex-Chelsea.
You're not having him. You're not having him.
So on the reverse, are there any players you'd want to have from us? You can have David Button back. How about that?
No, I don't think there's any players we'd want from you. We said about you having a good result Friday. Saturday, so we had a good result Friday. Yeah. You had a good result Saturday.
Against the Rangers, that's good. That's the only good thing Brentford will do all season.
That we can share, yeah, we can share. But I think that's going to make it a good game this week.
Because we've slowly gotten better against you guys, because there was the 4-1 at home a couple of years ago. Then we got it to 2-2 last year, so hopefully maybe, slowly but surely, we can finally get that win against you. Because we've only beaten you in the Cup so far. That's the odd thing.
Yeah. I don't know, I think that we've sort of, as we showed Friday, I think we're sort of raising our game, especially in the derbies, and I think that's why we previously we've been doing well against you.
Yeah, do you think, was it maybe just because it was on TV, give that players an extra little bit Friday night as well?
I think that Brentford seem to have acclimatised more to the derby and the feeling of the derby than like QPR did the other night, and maybe like Fulham have done in the past. Yeah. So, yeah, I think that you are catching up on that a little bit. Maybe it doesn't mean so much to some of the players as it does to the Brentford players. I think it means a lot to some of them. You saw it on them Friday night.
At the start of the season, I just basically wanted a year of consolidation, let Jukanovic start to put together a side, and maybe next year build up. But it's sort of been disappointing because of the way we started, but at the same time, we didn't expect anything, so we can't be too disappointed.
There's a long way to go, and this is, you know, I do have a discussion with some Brentford fans that that I go to the game with at times, and we do chat and say to them, you know, this early in the season, yeah, I'm pleased with what we're doing. Yeah, I think we're going in the right direction. So that's why I was asking you, and I think I can really understand why you don't sort of think at the moment you're not doing too bad.
Here's the thing, we've got the squad. You look at the players we've got. You know, Callis and Medill at the heart of the defence has been absolutely outstanding. Then you got Chris Martin, who's now finally starting to come to form. Sonny Aluko, who's really a Premier League player playing down in the Championship. Johansson, who we got from Celtic, has been great. You know, so we've got the player, as we did last year. We had a great squad, but for some reason it just didn't click.
Do you think it's the players you've lost that have...
Yeah, Ross McCormack being allowed to leave, I said it was a travesty. Yeah. Admittedly, you know, he wanted to go, but I just still think we could have done more to keep him. But then Moussa Dembele, who got the other half of the 1,000 goals they scored between last year, you know, his head went in January. He was going to Spurs on deadline day, but for some reason it didn't move out. He made up his mind that he was gone. So,
because I don't think any players we've got rid of, in my personal belief, have affected the way we played. I think actually the players that Smith has brought in, I wasn't sure about some of them to start with, but I think that they've had a really good effect. Yeah. I mean, Hogan coming back from injury, that was a big plus for us. The goals he scored at the end, towards the end of last season. You know, I think John Egan, absolutely tremendous this season so far. Yeah. Him with Dean at the back, you know, and I think that's going to be where we, you know, if we do well on Friday, which I expect us to, is where it's going to come from. Build from the back, play it out.
Yeah. So basically, you guys got rid of the dead wood, whereas we
brought some of our dead wood.
with all this talk about West Ham and their new stadium that's not going well, are you looking forward to the new stadium?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
You're not going to be one of these sentimental, it was better back at Griffin Park, and you're going to start tearing up the new one like the West Ham fans.
Listen, I'll always love Griffin Park as a Brentford fan,
Yeah.
but sometimes you understand you have to move on to move upwards, and I think that it's a positive sign that we're going to get a new ground, we're going to move on to it, you know, and we'll keep doing what we're doing.
My question is, are they still going to have the four pubs on the corners? Are they just going to brick by brick move the Griffin to the whatever southwest corner?
It'd be nice if they did. I think that they're going in the right direction, because I think what they're doing is they're trying to sustain themselves as a championship club first, rather than try and rush to the Premier League.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as you said there, where's it come from? I think it's come from these past 3 seasons, the investment in the club and the right people being in the right places. I mean, I believe Fulham, and I don't know if you'd agree with me on this, when you first sort of dropped down from the Premier League, they did throw a bit of money at certain players
like
to get
Ross,
them in, to try for the quick go back up again.
Yeah, which I've sort of never believed is the right way. I think if you were showed that you were too poor to stay, you should build the squad rather than, because if you get yourself back up, I said when we lost 2-1 to Ipswich on the opening day, should this team get promoted, they get slaughtered back in the Premier League. So you should stay for a year or two to build a squad that you think could compete. Then there's Newcastle who just throw the whole thing out the system. In theory, could have gone up with the squad we had last year, but for some reason it just never happened, because we had Ross McCormack, who was the second highest scorer in the league. When you have the second highest scorer in the league, you shouldn't be finishing 2 places below the relegation zone. And again, if we got promoted, we'd get slaughtered in the Premiership. So we need to know to build the squad to make sure if we get back up, we can actually stay there for another, was it 13 years? 13-year stretch like we did the first time.
Well, do you think that, what do you think it is that is missing at the moment with Fulham that is stopping them from doing that? Because for me, as I said, with Brentford, I think with Brentford they're going in the right direction. It's very positive, I believe, and I think that they'll get there eventually, and it'll be well earned. And I think that the structure be in place, new ground, decent team when they get up there to sort of stay there. Big question. Yeah. What do you think on Friday?
Well, I'm just hoping for a decent game. You know, I don't want it to be one of these, you know, scrappy derbies, you know, where there's 3 red cards, you know, 100 fans kicked out from either side. I want a good, clean game. As much as I like derby games, there's always that little bit of fire. You don't want the occasion to ruin the game. So long as we put in a good performance, you put in a good performance, and it's a good game overall.
Well, as I said earlier, I believe that in the derbies before with us and against QPR, Brentford seem to be the team that have risen to the derby feeling. Do you think the Fulham players will have that on Friday night?
I think we can, because you know we've sold out the allocation, and given the way that we, you know, up until the result last Saturday, the way we get there's proper starting to right. We've shown what we can do. Let's put it on the big stage on TV against the biggest rivals at their ground. You know, if you want to show us something to believe in, now's the ultimate time. So I reckon as long as that message gets across to the players, absolutely, I'm sure they can step up to the mark like they did against QPR last year.
Oh, obviously won't be Button, but who do you think would be Fulham's outstanding star player on the night?
I'd say the one it's not really a stand-up player, but Thomas Callas at the back. I think absolutely outstanding. Even though he came from Chelsea, which I always have some reservations for, I always thought he's a fantastic player. So I reckon his job will be to keep. Who's your main guy? Hogan, is it?
Well, what up front? Yeah, Hogan. But we've got other players who come in from the flanks. So.
Yeah, it'll be his job to keep the Brentford attack quiet, and him and Medill at the back absolutely can do that. So it won't be a striker who will score a great goal or a winger who will go on an amazing run. It'll be Thomas Callas or Michael Medill, should they be playing, because the back four has been rotated quite a lot. If it's them two playing, absolutely they can put out a great defensive performance and keep the Brentford attack out. There's my shout for it.
Who's the Brentford player you're most concerned with for Friday?
It's Josh McEachran, who's I always said, no, once he was at Chelsea, this kid is going. Because when Chelsea always had that problem with promoting youth, I always thought he's going to be the one to break the mould. I absolutely love Josh McEachran. He's a great player, and in the middle of the park, he can cause some problems, especially if it's Scott Parker who's getting on these days. His legs are starting to go. So Scott Parker's playing,
there's a potential red
Josh
card.
There is a potential red card. Scott Parker against Josh McEachran, and that's going to be an interesting battle. And I think Josh McEachran could exploit some of the weaknesses in Parker's game and run the show. That's my big fear, Josh McEachran.
See, my fear for it is the old players coming back to haunt you, as we said earlier. Button ended up the man of the match. Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, that's always been a problem from us. You know, the ex-player coming back. Even Dan Burn, who I've always been a fan of, but Dan Burn, who we sold to Wigan, everyone knows, as bad as he was for us, you know he's going to get the 90th minute winner. So maybe it'll be a safe penalty, something like that, at 1-1 in the 90th minute. So
I live in Witton, and my local pub there is mainly Chelsea, QPR and Fulham. So when it comes to Fulham or QPR, they both mean as much to me, because it's the local bragging rights again, sort of thing. I think
see the thing with me, the way I've ranked the West London derbies over the years has sort of changed, depending on where we were in the league and sort of thing. Like when I first started getting to Fulham, we were in the Premiership, so it was Chelsea. Then when QPR came up, I used to do a radio show with a QPR fan who really got on my. Who he hated Fulham, absolutely.
They have a habit of that, didn't they?
Small club mentality, absolutely. They just hated us. So then QPR took over. Whereas Brentford, this isn't going to sound well, but Brentford never really came onto my radar until we got relegated and we ended up in the same division, because all I ever dealt with during my Fulham supporting life, because I came into it quite late, it was always Chelsea, then QPR, and I didn't really pay much attention to Brentford until we started
losing to us.
Chance towards the edge of the box. Hotter, will he go for goal? Goes for goal. Here it is! There it is! What's a goal!
But isn't the theory in a derby game just don't lose? Because you can take a draw because the other fans aren't going away as happy as they would be with a win. So as long as you don't lose, that's the key thing, isn't it?
No, I think that might have been okay if we hadn't done so well last week, and if you hadn't done so well. But because your result and our result together, I think as a fan, I'd like to think that at home we'd go and do it, and we're just about good enough to get the better of the night.
Yeah.
Obviously, whether it'll happen or not, I don't know, but
anyway,
we can only hope.
Anyway, here's to a good game.
Cheers.
So that's what they think. What do you think? Let us know in the comments down below. Or better still, come join us on Friday where I'll be roaming around. Come and talk to us, be on Terrace Talk, and let us know exactly what you think ahead of what will be an exciting clash here at Griffin Park. See you Friday.